Good evening and welcome to 90 Minutes. It's Monday the 9th of November. I'm Symon and as you all know, who's here with me? It's Pete Hill. Evening, Pete. How are you keeping?
Yeah, good evening, Symon. Good evening, everybody. Keeping well. I just feel like I'm moved from this room, you know. That's lockdown 2 for you, I suppose. It's these four walls for 4 weeks and no real football.
That's all the fun of it, isn't it? Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we've got to all abide by the rules and do as we're told, I guess.
Yeah, we certainly have. I mean, still, I've got some news. We've got some talking points and really pleased to say we've got Josh Bryant coming up in the second half of the show as well. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And, it's great to have another young player on and someone who's got a good career in front of them, Pete, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. Got a very good career. Well, unfortunately, I mean, that announcement came when we were doing last week's show. We weren't too sure what was going to happen, but we all really knew what was going to happen, didn't we? With the full FA announcement saying all fixtures and training for steps 3 to 6 of the National League system would be suspended. There's been a little bit of movement. The Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport, I always thought it was Culture, Media and Sport, so I don't know where they added the digital bit on the end, but they are talking to the leagues and they're also deciding still what they're going to do with things like the FA Trophy, the Bill Bates FA Vase and various other bit of non-elite football. Of course, we have seen FA Cup ties with teams from non-elite level, as it were, take place this weekend past.
Yeah, they have. And I think there seems to be a bit of confusion because, first of all, they were told they're not allowed to train. And I think there was some sort of discussions going on. So I'm not actually sure if they're allowed to train or not because, obviously, some of those teams have got through. And, if they're in the next round, then, surely they're going to need to get on the training pitch, Pete.
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you? I think that's probably what all this dialogue that they're talking about. We got various leagues saying, well, hopefully they will be back. But as we said, the 2nd of December is a Wednesday, isn't it? So, realistically, the 5th, first Saturday, do you really want to go straight in on the first Saturday? Do you want to leave it a week? Do you want to leave it to the following midweek? So that's just really all up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, these discussions are going to take place. We'll mention a bit later about, some of those leagues asking for those discussions. And as well as the FA Cup and, like you said, the FA Trophy and the FA Vase, there's also some stuff about the FA Youth Cup, Pete, because apparently the elite teams, they can still play their ties, but those non-elite teams, they can't play theirs. So looks like in the FA Youth Cup, there might be some sort of backlog as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Or at least Boris said he bitterly regrets that we have to curtail for 28 days, open brackets, non-elite, close brackets, football clubs. So there we go, matches. So he did say matches on the end there. Quite what he knows about non-elite football, I've got absolutely no idea. So tell you what, we won't get into that one. We'll look at what was happened in the week gone by. I haven't got a great deal, but we can tell you that if we wind the clock back to Monday the 2nd, when we weren't in lockdown, in the Bluefin Sport Insurance Development League, finished Barking 5, Hertford Town 3. Top of the table looks like this. Harrogate Borough have gone top, played 4-10 points. Brentwood played 3-7. And Ware, who were due to play Brentwood, but that game was postponed, in third. Absolutely perfect from their 2 games with 6 points. Hertford down in 6, played 2 and 3 points. There was some league action for us on Tuesday the 3rd. It was in Southern League Division 1 Central, where it finished Bedworth United 3, Welwyn Garden City 2. Citizens beaten in the 2nd minute of stoppage time after giving up a 2-goal lead, with Charlie Crowley suffering from an injured hand sustained in the penalty shootout at Horsham, and under-23 keeper Aaron Ball unable to get to the match on time. Lee Close was forced to go in goal. Third time time he's done it in his career. Things started brightly. Joe Rolfe searching out Jordan Ganoshi, who ghosted Bar's two defenders before hitting a low cross which Carl Templeton turned into his own net. 9 minutes later, it was 2-0. Again, Ganoshi involved setting up Jack Vasey for a curling shot into the top corner. With 38 minutes gone, the visitors missed a golden opportunity to make it 3-0 when Robbie Buchanan was denied in a one-on-one with the homekeeper Dan Crane. Bedworth almost came back into things before half-time, but a superb goal-line clearance by Ryan Doherty denied Ishmael Dawson. Homeside, though, did reduce the deficit 10 minutes after the break. Luke Rowe curling a free kick home after Jay Rolfe had pushed Mitchell Piggott on the edge of the box. It was another Rowe free kick that led to the equaliser, this one rebounding off a post before Piggott reacted quickest to stab the ball home. The winner came deep into stoppage time. Dawson's cross headed back by Piggott for Richard Blythe to force the ball over the line from close range. And, well, after the Lord Mayor's show comes to mind, doesn't it? Brilliant day, of course, in the FA Trophy at Horsham. Bedworth United were going well this season, but giving up a 2-goal lead.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it, Pete? And for it to come so late in the game as well, you know, that makes it even harder to take. And I mean, well done to Lee, because I mean, it was said that, you know, none of the goals, you know, were down to him, and it sounds like he gave a good performance between the sticks.
Yeah, most definitely did. Let's not forget he was injured as well, but he's still got this muscle injury which forced him off the game before the Horsham game. So, you know, against Kempston. So, you know, you got an injured centre half playing in goal. So I think he did an excellent job.
That's it. I mean, you know, Welling Garden City, they did have a late goal disallowed as well for offside, which seemed a little bit contemptuous, Pete.
Yeah, it did a little bit if you saw the Twitter comment or whatever. But, hey, you know, Nicky took the Twitter anyway. Pretty devastated, losing 3-2 to Bedworth tonight. Need to learn how to see the game out and be ruthless. Had enough chances to win comfortably, but saying that, still proud of the boys. 5 missing and a centre-half in goal. Good luck to Bedworth. Stuck in till the end, said Nicky. And, yeah, I bet they were a bit disappointed. He always is, isn't he? You're on a real high after the FA Trophy, and you know, Bedworth away, had they've got points as well. I mean, we'll look at the league table a little bit later, but that brought Bedworth second in the table. Yeah,
I mean, it's one of them typical tweets from Nicky, isn't it? Like you say, you know, he is always disappointed after a loss, but he's all, you know, I think the nice thing about it is as well, you know, he's always, you know, thanks to our hosts, good luck for them for the rest of the season, and he's very loyal in saying that as well, isn't he? You know.
Yeah, and absolutely. And he was right with the players missing. I mean, George Ironton started on the bench again. Still no sign of Dave Keenley signed. Such an important player. We said Lee was injured, although he ended up going in goal. You got players like Dylan Abengo who haven't featured this season because of that early season injury he got pre-season against Royston. So, you know, there's players out, and as we know, there's a good squad building there. And I think it's down to Nicky as well. He's a great character, isn't he? And he engenders that spirit in the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, you know, he is building a good squad there. He's got some great players there together. And it'd be nice for him, I guess, to be able to put what he would consider, you know, a full-strength side out, you know, without there being any injuries.
Yeah, probably hasn't done that all season. Open to question that, I guess. Anyway, same night there was action in the Essex Senior League where it finished Hoddesdon down 2, Stansted 1. Excellent night's entertainment at Lowfield as the Lily Whites went back into the top 5 with victory over second place Stansted. Simon Riddle had to cope with our injured pair of Jack Lee and Jack Riddle, but he could call on the returning Ollie Sharman back after suspension. Homeside made the perfect start in front within a minute. Liam Mulligan's corner headed at Stansted keeper Jarvis Monk, who could only parry the ball back to striker Harrison Rookard, who buried his 4th goal of the season. Took the visitors 20 minutes to pose their first threat, Liam Nugent smothering the ball away from Ash Siddick. It was Hoddesdon who could have stretched their lead before the break, Cyrus Babai rattling the top of the crossbar with a 25-yard effort. Second goal did arrive, though, after 57 minutes. Ben Warrington Carter's ball, only half half cleared to Cyrus Babai, who drove it through a crowd of players into the net. As the game entered the final quarter, Stansted started to get on top, but despite forcing a succession of corners, failed to trouble Liam Nugent. But just as 6 minutes of added time was signalled, Connor Hammond forced the ball home to set up a nail-biting finish. Lily White's held on, though, and once again, they've beaten one of the best teams in the division.
Yeah, I'm sure Simon's going to be absolutely delighted with that. Up to fifth in the table. They've got a couple of games in hand as well, over some of the teams above them, haven't they, as well? So it's looking like it could be a really strong season for them.
Yeah, they're doing well. It's just, I guess, that little bit of consistency. And they've had those games where, Saffron Walden Town at home springs to mind, where they just haven't had that level of consistency. If they produce results in games like that, they could have been even higher than fifth.
That's it. I mean, I'm sure, like I say, Simon's going to be delighted. But, there are those games where, the form drops, concentration drops, and to stay up there consistently, they need to perform better in games like that, I think.
And something that does perform consistently every week is Hoddesdon Town Twitter. I just love Hoddesdon Town Twitter. This one came in, unconfirmed reports this evening, open brackets. Someone told me in the stand, and I haven't had a chance to check the facts. Why should that hold anything back? That we had just 3 players over the age of 21 on the pitch today. Absolutely incredible stat. As Alan Hansen famously said, you win nothing with kids. Well, think about that again. So we've got another one of our local teams. We know Hertford's average age without Ben is 19, and there you've got Hoddesdon's side with only 3 players over the age of 21.
I think that's fantastic, and a really promising sign for them as well, isn't it, Pete?
Most definitely is. On the same night, unfortunately, at the recreation ground, finished St Margaret's-Bury 1, Hadley 3. 4th straight defeat for the Berry. Hadley in front after 36 minutes through a looping header from Luke Alfano. That's the way it stayed until the break, with the home side failing to produce anything in front of goal. 4 minutes after the break, it was 2-0 when the home defence failed to pick up Jordan Edwards, who finished from inside the box. 4 minutes later, it was 3 as Sam Edwards converted a penalty after a foul in the area. Dan Palmer had a consolation effort for the Berry with 17 minutes left, but a comeback never looked likely, and just worrying. And that is 4 straight defeats. We know they've had some tough teams to play. Hadley are a tough team, but they're going to have to turn that corner sometime.
Yeah, they are, Pete. And like we said last week, they've lost Kyle Roberts as well, who was scoring a lot of goals. Hadley are one of them teams to watch out for in the league. I know when we come on to do the tables, we'll say that I think they're sitting about 7th. They've only played 7 games as well, haven't they? So they are a really strong side, and you talked them up at the beginning of the season as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I told them at the beginning of last season. Yeah, they are a strong side. They've been a really good club the way they've put it together. I know, one of the board members there at Hadley, and they're a club that have done things the right way. So, good luck to them. They get good following as well, get good home support, and quite a bit of that is to the fact that Barnet Football Club moved out of Barnet. So they are one of the senior football clubs in the borough of Barnet now, and I think they profit a little bit from that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, James Falace, the St Margaret's-Bury assistant manager, he took to Twitter after the game, and he said 2 centre-halves starting tonight with a combined age 2 years older than mine. 2 subs come on tonight with the same combined age as mine. Forget the result tonight. This has given me a reason to smile. And Sam Rogers, one of those players, he came on and said not many clubs, managers or coaches would give a 16-year-old a chance. Grateful to the St Margaret's-Bury team for giving me my first team debut. And Sam is one of those players. He's part of Ben's Academy, Pete. And another team, giving youngsters a chance. It all looks promising, doesn't it, here in East Hartsland?
Yeah, it does seem to be the home of promising youth players at the moment, and long may it continue. Top of the table in the Essex Senior League, #United, played 11-28. Stansted hold on to second, played 12-23. Cop Foster's got a few games in hand on everybody, played 9-20 points. Saffron Walden in fourth, played 13-19. Hoddesdon have got 19 points as well. They're in fifth, but they've got 2 games in hand on Saffron Walden. Salisbury's worth of 13. 13th, played 12-12. St Margaret's-Bury 16th, played 9, 6 points. And the bottom two, Clapton played 10, 4 points. Woodford Town played 11-3. On the same night, there were a couple of friendlies. I was at the park, Huntingford-Bury Park, where I saw it finished Hertford Town 0, Watford under-23s 4. Fairly routine stuff, I guess, for a Watford side who like to ping the ball around. And also had Isaac Pedro playing for them in the first half. So a chance for the Watford management team to cast their eye over Hertford's promising young midfielder. Probably no real doubt about the result. And as I'll tell Josh Bryant a little bit later, probably the biggest thing was my chat with Graham Stack, who former Arsenal and Barnet keeper, of course, who's now one of the coaches at Watford. And thankful for him for giving me his team. That in true local radio non-league fashion, he was looking at players going, which one you missing? Number 9. What's he called? And then coming out with the names for me. And I thank him for that. And then he turned to me and said, you know what? That Hertford team looks so young. That's not their first team, is it? And I said, well, actually, it is, Graham. And he was quite impressed. So, continuing that thing about youth football, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said during commentary as well, Pete, that, it was a Watford under-23 side that they were playing against. And, Hertford were younger than the Watford team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I didn't work out the entire facts on it, but I think we can probably safely say that that was pretty true. On the same night, also at Watson Park, finished Ware 1, Holbridge Sports 0. Chris Arthur got the goal for Ware in a game where rolling substitutions made it a bit difficult to develop any flow. The only good news about lockdown 2 is that it's now given Pat Adamson, Finlay Titchmarsh and Tommy Wade time to recover from knocks, which all saw them replaced last Tuesday night. So once again, chance for players to get out, chance to have a bit of a runabout, and we'll talk about each of our Step 4 teams in the weeks to come. And I think the words Chris Arthur will be mentioned quite prominently when we start talking about Ware.
I think so. Yeah, he's been a fantastic addition to the squad, Pete, hasn't he? And like Paul said to us, the other week, you can see, why he's been a professional. You can see, the experience he's got in his game. And he really seems to have added that to the Ware squad, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he seems to have had a few goals as well. Popped in a couple against Harlow, of course, and got another one there in that friendly. Well, moving on a day to Wednesday, the 4th of November, it was the FA Youth Cup round 1, and finished MK Dons 8, Hertford Town 1. But that doesn't tell the story, does it?
It doesn't, Pete. No, I mean, I watched this game on the MK Dons Twitter feed. They had a specific Twitter feed set up for people to watch the game. Unfortunately, I was watching it on my laptop. I couldn't identify the players. But, both teams started really brightly. It was MK Dons who took the early advantage and found themselves 1-0 up after 14 minutes. After Ozun Akale as a Banwan in the Hertford goal came to collect the ball on the left of his area, but was judged to have vandalled outside the box, and they scored from the resulting free kick. They went further ahead 2 minutes later through a harshly awarded penalty. But, Hertford were attacking plenty and were finding space behind the MK Dons defence. A goalmouth scrambled from across, saw the ball go just over the crossbar before they pulled themselves back into the game on 24 minutes from a well-worked team goal. A great run down the right saw the ball floated into the box, which found Ben Wayman on the left to make it 2-1. Just before the break, the Dons scored again and went in 3-1 at half-time. But the game was looking far from over. 2 goals in the opening 15 minutes in the second half put the tie out of reach for the Blues, although were still attacking well and finding less gaps in the home defence. A penalty awarded to Hertford in the 78th minute after Wayman was brought down looked like it may make for an interesting finish, but sadly it was put over the bar. Hertford were then reduced to 10 men after having used all their subs. They lost a player to injury. And 3 quick goals in the last 5 minutes for MK Dons when the visitors were pushing higher up the field to pull a goal back. And it looks like they got a heavy defeat, but the scoreline, that really flattered MK Dons. I'm like I say, them 3 late goals came. Hertford were down to 10 men. They were pushing up the field, trying to get a goal back, and they can be really proud of how far they've come in this year's tournament. We know, like has been said before, it's the furthest they've got. The club as a whole have got, in the FA Youth Cup before. So, they've got a little bit of pride to take from that run, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's historic, isn't it? It's the furthest Hertford Town have gone in the FA Youth Cup in their history. And, it's some great wins up until arriving at Stadium NK. And even, I didn't manage to see all the game. I saw some of the first half. I must admit, I called it helicopter football from the where the camera was, because it was very difficult to pick out individual players. But, from some of the stuff I saw, they played some nice stuff. And if you were just coming in looking at that, you would not know which team were which at times in that game.
No, not at all. I mean, like I said, Hertford, they were knocking the ball around nicely. That first half, they found so much gap behind the MK Dons defence. They were playing up very high. They were finding plenty of space. And to go in 3-1 down at half-time was really harsh on them. And, I think, they performed really well. I was pleasantly surprised with that. It's a fantastic effort from them all.
Yeah, and I think, the bright spot is the production line is there, isn't there? I mean, there's prospective first-team players there. There was a first-team player in Ben Wayman, and, there are other prospective first-team players. So, this is kind of dynasty that Ben started building last year. It's not just a one-off with these young players coming through. There's now a production line of more young players coming through, which, future looks really bright.
That's it. I mean, like you say, obviously Ben Wayman, their first team player, he's still in that squad. I think, the keeper as a Bamwam, he looks absolutely fantastic, and the striker as well. He got a couple of goals in the previous round. He wasn't so effective this game, but there are definitely some talented youngsters in that under-18 squad.
Yeah, and they're going to get a chance in the under-23s, aren't they, in the development league, and it's going to look good. The last football result we were able to give you before lockdown was in the Southern Counties Floodlit Youth League, where it finished Salisbury Town 7, St Margaret's-Bury 1. Hat-trick for Alfie Scarborough. Junior Nagaza got 2. Louis Hollington and Jesse Mugabe were the other scorers for the Robins. And the tables got Coney Heath up the top, played 9 points. Salisbury now up to second, played 9 points. So let's just recap on the league tables for our Step 4 teams. Going into lockdown, the Ismail League Division 1 South Central looked like this. Waltham Abbey at top, played 8-16, but remember they lost their last 2 games going into lockdown. Staines in second, played 8-16. Ware in third, played 7-15. Tooting and Mitcham in fourth, played 7-15. And Bracknell in fifth, played 5-13. Hertford the ninth, played 7-12. And the bottom 2, Northwood, played 8-4. And the Harlow played 8-3. So I guess when you look at the top of that table, Tooting, Bracknell, Ware, Waltham Abbey have been there or thereabouts. So for me, really, just Staines are the big surprise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially considering their performances last year, I think they've shocked everyone, Pete. But I mean, Ware very well placed. Waltham Abbey, they were touching playoffs or in the playoffs last season, and Bracknell, they're, like we've said before, they're still one to keep an eye on. They've undefeated so far this season. Only dropped a couple of points, and they've got those games in hand as well. But with this lockdown happening, depending on things going forward, if the season gets completed or how it happens, will that backlog of games affect them at all? Could be interesting to see.
Well, it certainly, I think, is where Ware's pitch might come in and play very well, because they're not going to have any home games postponed. So, they're going to be able to get at least half their programme through. Whereas you look at, Tooting and Mitcham, Staines, Waltham Abbey, all questionable playing surfaces when the going gets tough. So, that could be difficult. And I guess the other thing we're looking at there, there's 2 prominent teams which are not in there who have had poor starts to the season, Westfield and Hanwell, who were very much vying with Ware for the top of the table last season. But Westfield, 100% change. Not surprising, I guess, that they're struggling a bit. But Hanwell, got a lot of last year's players, and quite a surprise that they find themselves struggling a bit.
Yeah, I was shocked to see them down there. Like you say, Westfield, they've changed a lot of players. and it's going to take time for them to gel as a team. But maybe this 4-week break might do them a little bit of good. Time to rejuvenate things and reassess things for the management team and come out after the lockdown and see what they can do. So I think for the first few games back, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams perform, and especially those teams like you say, with Waltham Abbey, they've lost their last two. Staines up the top there. Can they keep that momentum going that they've built up?
Yeah, it'll be, really will be about momentum, wouldn't it? I mean, Waltham Abbey were on the way down, Ware were on the way up. So, we'll see who hits the ground running. The Southern League Division 1 Central is like this. Corby Town at top now, played 15 points. Bedworth in second with that win over Welwyn Garden City, played 15. St Neots played 13. Aylesbury United played 6-13. And Bedford Town played 7-12. So, really interesting stuff in the Southern League Division 1 Central, because you've got some real big hitters. Hales Owen really come to mind. Daventry possibly as well. The team's not even in the top 5.
No, that's it's the same again as in this league as well. And you've got teams that you would have expected to be there at the start of the season, not there. But it's all very close up there again at the top. Yeah, there's teams that have got a game or two in hand, but it's all still very open there, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, Welwyn Garden City are down in 11th, played 6 and 10 points, but they're 3 points off third place, and I guess kind of a bit like Staines. I mean, St Neots, who are a team that got hammered by a lot of teams, including Welwyn Garden City last season. I mean, I think they're a surprise for me. They're up in third.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how much of a change in personnel they've had. So, maybe they've had a chance to, add some more quality players during the summer and, add to that squad and build them up. And it looks like it's done them good.
And bottom two, Didcott's in 19th, played 6 points, and still a surprise. Biggleswade played 6-3. I know Welwyn Garden City beat them 3-0 when we did a commentary on the game, but it didn't look like a bottom place team to me.
No, I think we said this the other week, team, that they won't stay there at the bottom of the season, and we know the rise that they've had. There was in with Welwyn Garden City in the division below a couple of seasons ago. I mean, they've done fantastic since they were formed, but I'm sure that come the end of the season that we won't be seeing them in the position that they are.
Well, sticking with Welwyn Garden City, and of course we had the draw for the first round of the FA Trophy. Not sure when the game's going to take place, but it's a cracking draw. Welwyn Garden City got Hednesford Town at home, the Southern League Premier team who beat Corby 2-1 in the previous round, but of course are former trophy winners. They won it in 2004 when they beat Canvey Island 3-2 in the final. Not doing too well in the Southern League Premier, 20th in the table, 2 wins from 8, and it's a pretty plum draw, that one.
Yeah, it's a great draw for them, Pete, and like you say, it's a home time for Welwyn Garden City, so at least, Pete, we know we'll be able to get to do that one and do commentary on it, don't we?
Yeah, I put a tweet out the week, which I know that Nicky Ironson liked, and I said that I'm even going to walk from home to get to that one. So there's no way I'm going to miss that. But fingers crossed, when that's going to occur, whether it occurs this side of Christmas or not, who knows? But when we find out, we will let you know. So that kind of rounded off the football action as we went into lockdown 2. But as we were talking on the top of the show, obviously lots of leagues to decide, what's your plan for getting out of lockdown? We know nothing's going to happen for the next 3 weeks or so, but, now is the time, I guess, for them all to decide and presumably canvass the clubs and what they want to do to get out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know the Southern League, they're asking clubs about, how they want to restart the league and when they want to start the league. And they've given them 3 dates. They've given them the 5th, the 12th and the 19th of December. Obviously, those being Saturday games. The league are recommending the 12th of December as a start. So I guess, wait to see those results in and see what they say. Obviously, we still need the go-ahead from the government that we can definitely start football again. But I'm sure the Isthmian League and the Essex Senior League and all other leagues, all across the country will be canvassing these clubs and getting their opinions, because I think, if we restart on the 5th, that's a couple of days after lockdown ends. I think that might be a little bit too soon, Pete.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, you got to get players back into things. And also you got to get meaningful results as well. You got to put everybody on a level playing field here. I think the only hope, and I hope for the clubs, is that we get some Christmas football, because, normally they're good gates, they're great games. Everybody looks forward to, a little bit of football over the festive season. So fingers crossed we get those games over Christmas that we all love to go and watch.
That's it. I mean, we all know, you got your pre-Christmas game, you got your Boxing Day, you got your New Year's Day. We know how popular that is with everyone. And I'm sure if we can get those games ahead and we can have crowds, I think we could see some good crowds, Pete, if that goes ahead.
Well, I think generally we did it. We'll have another look at it next week, actually. I'll work out the stats. But a couple of weeks ago, we did work out that all our teams, step 4, have had a fairly substantial increase in their crowds this season so far. So, you're absolutely right. Come the festive season, everybody's out of lockdown, then hopefully we can do it safely as well, of course. But, we can get some good crowds in.
Yes, I mean, I did notice, during the week, Hoddesdon's game against Stansted, for a Tuesday night game, down at Lowfield, they had a crowd of 145 people, which for them, I think that's fantastic for a midweek game for them.
Yeah, I think, there's a debate to be had, isn't there, in terms of, COVID. It's been a horrible year, COVID, et cetera, But one of the positives that's come out of it, I think, is the image of non-league football. Because the more people I speak to, and there's this whole thing about real football now, and we've had it on the show. The Premier League have done themselves no favours with this $14.99 job, and a lot of people are just turning their back. And I, for one, as you know, I just hate watching football without spectators. I don't mind watching sports where you never see spectators. I mean, I was watching MotoGP the other day and thought, well, actually, to be fair, it doesn't make a squat of difference whether there's spectators or not, does it? So, I can sit there and watch that and think it's exactly the same. But you put me in front of a football match in an empty stadium with no atmosphere at all, and I'm really struggling.
That's it. And where they're putting the crowd noise in and adding that, it's really not the same, is it? It's great the way they do it, and they get all the oohs and ahs and celebrations and cheers from the fans, but it's really not the same. And yeah, I mean, I'll watch it. I don't necessarily enjoy it, but but it is great that these people seem to have turned their back on watching the Premier League games and are going along and supporting their local clubs. It's absolutely fantastic, and hopefully that will continue long term.
Yeah, I really hope so. And, it's once you get in the habit of non-league football, once you've actually tried it, then, it's very difficult to shake it off, as I've found over the years, that, you just love it. It's just so, it's a nice atmosphere. You get talking to people in the crowd and, you can, as we're doing, you can watch young players develop, which also is, something that fans, always like to see players of their own going through, don't they? And in kind of Premiership football has become such a rarity that, players like Harry Kane or whatever are now part of a chant. He's one of our own. Well, you roll football back, a few years' time, and they were all ones of our own. And that's what non-league football's all about.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And, we know a few of the local players, they get their own chant as well, though, don't they? It just makes me think of the Albert Adu one, Pete.
Might get someone on here to sing that for Christmas. You never know. Anyway,
something you touched on, Pete, a couple of minutes ago. You saying about people getting fed up with the Premier League and their $14.99 charge. Allegedly, they are thinking of scrapping that after the forthcoming international break. I think chats between the Premier League and Sky Sports and BT Sports are going to take place. I know Sky Sports and BT don't want the $14.99 charge, and the decision did ultimately come down to the Premier League. But if they're going to scrap it, Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I don't think they should be charging, but again, are people going to be watching it? Maybe they will while there's no actual football taking place, some proper football, as we've said. But I think that $14.99 charge, like we've said, it's just them being greedy, isn't it?
Well, it's taking money to give to people who've got money, which is, in my eyes, not right. And, the other thing I'd like is that if people are covering games, and the BBC fell foul of me this weekend for doing this, is that if you're doing a TV game, get a TV commentator. Don't just take the cheap way out and just plumb in some radio commentary. Because, I don't know if anybody else is like me, but I don't need someone in radio commentary to describe where the ball is because I can already see it on the screen. I found that incredibly annoying this weekend when all the BBC did was pick a local radio commentary and just plumb it into their live TV coverage. Hey, let's not be cheap, boys. Let's go and get a TV commentator, can we?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's just an easy way out for them, isn't it? I don't know if they had to do that maybe because of, allowing a certain amount of people inside the ground. But, I mean, surely they can do it because you've got these big stadiums and you can easily socially distance inside of them. So there's no reason not to have two sets of commentators, surely.
No, absolutely not. I think it is, just quite an exercise for me. But anyway, controversial. But then again, when haven't we been? I'll tell you, there is some elite sport going on in our, just outside our area. And that is basketball, with the announcement that Basketball England, the basketball that can still take place during lockdown, includes the British Basketball League, the Women's British Basketball League, where Oakland Wolves are, of course, and the National Basketball League Division 1, where Oakland Wolves men's team are. So we have actually got elite sport going on in the area. Training and competition are permitted under the government's elite exemption. The only problem with that was that, sadly, Saturday's proposed NBL basketball match between Oakland Wolves and Worthing Thunder was postponed due to a positive COVID test, but that was for a player from last week's opponents, Nottingham Hoods. So we very much hope that by next weekend, that one will have sorted itself out and the Oakland Wolves will be back in action. So at least it's nice to know there's some sport going on.
I mean, at least, like you say, we've got something local, but I mean, that falls under the banner of the elite sports being allowed to continue, doesn't it, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, that is because they are the elite divisions. Well, the NBL Division 1 is, put in football parlance, like the championship in football, if you like, and the BBL is the Premier League. So, it's the second level, and the Women's British Basketball League is the Premier, it's like the Women's Premier League in football. It is the premier competition for the sport. So, unfortunately, as we said last week, not such for hockey because, our hockey teams are further down the hockey pyramid, as it were. So they're having to take a rest. And again, like football, they will have to decide how they're going to get their season back on track as well.
That's it. Don't fancy going along and doing the basketball commentary though, Pete?
Actually, I've never done one. I've watched a fair bit of basketball, particularly when the Ware Rebels were going. I used to go there fairly regularly because my daughter was a cheerleader for the Ware Rebels. She was what was called a flyer because she was quite small at the time. She was the one they used to chuck off the top of the pile, and then someone would catch her on the way down. And thankfully, they always did. But they were good days at Watson Park with the Ware Rebels. They had some good players, former American college players up there, etc. But no, I never fancied doing a play-by-play, as the Americans call it, on the basketball game.
No, it'd be a little bit fast-paced, I think. I mean, rather your daughter than me as well, being chucked up in the air and relying on people to catch me.
Yeah, I think Dad was cringing a little bit in the stands at times, but they managed to do it, and she managed to escape. Well, that's just about it for the first half, I think. We've got through it in lockdown, 90 minutes, lockdown 2, but luckily we haven't locked down the referee.
Right, welcome back from that break, and we are now joined by Hertford Town player Josh Bryant. So, Josh, thanks for joining us. Welcome to 90 Minutes. It's good to have you on.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be on.
Excellent. Now, you've joined Hertford this season. I know you spent a couple of years at Ben's Academy. That's obviously the connection that brought you along to Hertford. When was it that they approached you about joining them?
So I'd say, obviously, I was doing the 2-year college academy program at Ben's, and then I think it was in my second year there that Ben decided to take over Hertford. And I originally was just playing under 18s there, and then broke into the under 23 side. And then I think it was towards the end of last season, I think it may have been Chipstead's at home and Ware at home, I managed to get onto the bench, which I was grateful for. And then it was in my intentions, I was just hoping to have a very good pre-season. And hopefully, obviously I did. And I've played every minute up to date. Yeah.
I mean, I'll come on to that a little bit later. But first of all, I want to speak about the academy side of things, because, there might be some youngsters that, that are listening and they're interested in taking that kind of route for their education. So for the academy, you join after year 11.
Yeah.
And it's like instead of like going to college or going to sixth form, something like that, it's a further education, of course. So you spend a lot of time training and on the pitch, I guess, but you spend time in the classroom as well, don't you? And there's a lot of different courses that you can take to add to your studies, isn't there?
Yeah. So obviously Ben's Academy is linked with Symon Ball School, which is obviously it's an Ofsted outstanding school. So it's a very good partnership to have. And as long as training full time, you're taking up 3 A-levels. So I think most of us did the triple sport A-level, and it's a 2-year course. So while you're training 2 years, you do that as well. And at the end of it, it gives you the grades to be able to go to uni if you decide to take that course, or it can get you into, to whatever you want to do, apprenticeships. So I think it's a very good idea, not only just for football to train full time if you're into it, but educationally, the teaching is very good there and it can further your education.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the courses, you say it's 3 A-levels. Is it mainly sports orientated A-levels? So maybe if you want to go down the physio side of things or like the coaching side of things, are they the main courses that people would take?
I mean, I did the 3 in A-levels in sports, and I think the majority of boys did there as well. But I think you can, obviously, because it's with Symon Ball, you can do any A-levels you would like to. But obviously, the one we did, the sports, it fit in with the training schedule, so it allowed us to fit in well.
And what are those 3 sports A-levels? What sort of section are they? What are they entail?
So some of it's to do with the anatomy, so all about the body, like the bones, the vessels. Then other bits are about, muscle types, muscle fibres, and then all to like working safely in sport as well, about leisure centres, coaching. So there's lots of, it's a range of sport, everything to do with sport it covers.
Yeah. So, I mean, what would a typical day or a typical week be? So how much time would you spend in the classroom and how much time would you spend, on the pitch training and things like that?
So I think it's a little bit different now, but when I was there, so you had your first years and your second years. You'd get in for 9 o'clock, and then 9 till 9:45, you'd have time to, get your kit on, stretch, and then we'd be out for 9:45. And then from 9:45 till 12 o'clock, you'd be out training. So about a session would roughly be about 2.5 hours. Then you'd have your lunch from 12 till 1 o'clock. And then from 1:15 till 3 o'clock, you'd be doing your education.
Right, yeah, and that's just like a weekly. So, it sounds like, morning, you're doing your football work, and then, a couple of hours in the classroom in the afternoons, and that's how it works, yeah?
Yeah.
And then what about when you first started playing? So how old was you when you first started playing football and took an interest in it?
So when I first started playing, I remember my parents saying I was about 4 years old, but my dad took me to just a little, when you just got some coaches running a little session. And apparently I absolutely hated football at 4 years old. I despised playing it. So I ended up not playing football. And then I think it was when I was about 6 years old, I went to pick up my cousin from a training session. And we got there about half an hour before the end just to watch him. And all the coaches, just like Sunday League, asked me to join in. And I was a very shy kid and I was scared to join in. I didn't want to. But I got forced into it. And then it just happened from there. I just seemed to love it.
And who is it you was actually playing for?
So my Sunday League team was Austin Arrowheads in Stevenage.
Yeah. And now, so obviously you're at Hertford, you're playing left back. So you say first of all when you first started football, you didn't enjoy it, but where was you playing first of all? And was it like a natural thing that you found yourself playing at left back, or was it something that your coaches sort of suggested and put you in that position?
I mean, when I was younger, I used to be a striker for about my first 3 years. I used to love playing striker. I did score quite a few goals, to be fair. But I think it was when I was at Stevenage, I remember, I'd been playing striker all season. And the last game of the season, we had, I think one of the players was injured, so we had no left-footed players in the team. So me being the only left-footer, they just said, right, you're going to go left back. And then I think I just had a good game and they just decided to keep me there on.
You know what? I know exactly the same feeling. I'm left-footed and I was always shoved into left back. It's kind of the thing that happens with you, doesn't it? Because obviously there's not so many left-footed players and it just seems that, you either, if you're left-footed, you're either stuck at left back or on left wing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously you're there for Hertford. You get a lot of freedom, don't you, to get forward. How well does that suit you and suit your game?
Well, as a left back, I like the way Ben plays because obviously it gives us the freedom to do whatever. We're not all playing. We've got our set positions, but if I want to go forwards, I know that the CDM is going to cover across for me. If I drift into midfield, someone will cross the left back position. So I feel like the way we're playing, it's a bit like futsal, really. No one's got a position, and I think it's good the way we play because it allows us to interchange more, the movements a lot better. So it's easier to break teams down when we're moving that well.
I think that's the thing that we've noticed, especially this season, that if you get forward or if Ben on at right back gets forward, there's always someone that that slots back. You all know that who to cover and when you're covering them, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I remember I came to one of your early pre-season games against Enfield down at Donkey Lane on the 3G there. That was the first time I'd seen you. You did get a goal in that game, didn't you? And that wasn't easy, was it? That wind was blowing all over the place, wasn't it?
It was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a couple of instances where someone's tried to clear the ball out of defence and, it's blown back into everyone's faces. And it was absolutely, considering it was, mid-August, early August, it was more sort of this weather for this time of year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was horrendous. But I think them games, it suits us better when it's like that because it allows us to play on the floor, and I think that's how we break teams down better. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you have been breaking teams down well this season. You've had some great performances, and how is that team cohesion there?
I think it's a lot better from pre-season. In pre-season we had mixed results, but you can see now all the boys are starting, like the team's gelling now. Everyone knows each other well. And I feel like we all know what our roles are, what the job is. And I just feel like we're playing really good football. And if we keep it going, we know we can compete for the league. Yeah.
I mean, you say you all know each other well. Did you know, because obviously there's a lot of players there from Ben's Academy that have graduated from there. A couple of them, possibly still there. So did you know a lot of the lads at all beforehand?
I knew a lot of the lads from the academy, Ben's one, but then there's a few of the older lads in the team that I didn't really know that well. But
you say a few of the older lads, but you're still a very young side, aren't you? I mean, like everyone always says, we take Ben out of it, and I think the average age is sort of like 19 and a half, something like that.
Yeah, we've got a very young team. I mean, I call them the older lads. I think they're only about 22 years old. But, I think, no, it's really good that we've got a young team. You don't really see it in many clubs at all, professional clubs or non-league type clubs. And we know we think it's the right way to go.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on it right at the beginning. And, you've played every league game, every cup game so far this season. Before it all started, did you expect to feature so much at the start of the season?
I feel like I've been performing well enough last year to have a chance with the first team this year, but I think that I knew pre-season I had to perform well if I was going to definitely get in the team. Yeah,
that's fair enough. And we did meet your parents the other week. I think it was the Waltham Abbey game.
Yeah.
They were sitting behind us. Pete was doing the commentary. They were sitting behind us. And, do they come to all your games?
Yeah, they try to come to as many games as possible, my family do, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sometimes, if you've got a midweek game that's, quite a way away, it might be difficult. But, I mean, how grateful are you to them for, travelling all that way and their continued support that you get from them?
I'm so grateful for my parents for everything since 6 years old, since I started football. Not just now at Hertford coming to watch me play pretty much every home and away game, even during the weeks. Even before when I was at Stevenage, my dad used to drive me to every away game. He's driven me to Newcastle, Liverpool. So I'm very thankful for them for everything they've done for me.
Yeah, of course. And let's not forget Auntie Karen.
Oh,
we know she listens. We have had messages from her that she listens. She's up in Norfolk, isn't she?
Yeah, she lives. My mum's sister in Kings Lynn, so she's very supportive as well. So she's always sending her best wishes from there.
Yeah, I mean that's great to get that sort of support from your extended family, sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So go on, say hello to Auntie Karen. Go on.
Karen from Kings Lynn. She'll be pleased when she's listening. She's already asked me when it's.
Is she? I'm sure she'll be tuning in. I mean, for you touched on before, sort of like you being so young, but what does it mean to you? So you've got Ben, you've got Mark there, you've got Colin. How much does it mean for them to having that sort of confidence in you and putting you in the first team with you being at the age you are?
I mean, it means a lot because it shows me how much they trust me as a player and how confident they are in my ability to prove to them on the pitch what I can do to help the team win. So I'm grateful for that because it shows they're looking, they're not just for like a non-league team where they want just experienced players in. I can see the identity they have and they want the young players to promote.
Yeah, and like we touched on before, obviously you knew quite a few of the lads from the academy and that before, but there was the older lads, as you call them. How have they helped you settle into the team?
Oh, loads, massively. I mean, I know we're saying the older lads, but even them having a few years of men's football, it's very good for us because although we may lack in experience, we do have a few people there that have had a few good years in men's football who can really help us, learn quickly. Because I feel like that's massive during this season. There's a few, maybe the games and the goals we have conceded and lost. I think it's just our concentration due to how young we are, but I think having them is helping us push on and we're learning quickly.
And what does it mean so there's obviously lads at the academy now, studying now. So what does it mean to them for, to have people like yourself that they can look up to and see where they can get? Do you speak to any of them at all about it?
Yeah, obviously when I was there, I spoke to them a lot all the time. Even now, I'm not at the academy anymore, but I still do speak to some of them. And it just goes to show, if you work hard, have a good attitude, anyone can do it, really. I mean, it's good how I know I'm quite young, but I like to be a role model to the academy lads to show how, when I first started, I worked my way up. I was only at the 18s, then the 23s, then the first team. So it's just a process. You've got to keep going with it and work hard.
That's it. And it shows, like you say, if you work hard, you get those results and you get your chance, don't you?
Definitely. You've got to take your opportunities when they come.
That's it. And I know some of the players from the academy, they go out to other teams as well. I know there's a couple of lads at St Margaret's as well, isn't there, I think?
Yeah, I think there's a few lads there.
Yeah. Now, going back to last season, you say you was involved a couple of times on the bench. Obviously, there was a couple of, poor results, but, you've rectified some of that this season. I'm thinking particularly, against Westfield. How far from you being on the outside last season, how far do you think you've come, this season compared to then?
I think we've come a long way, not just from performances on the pitch. I would say we've got a lot better characters in the room now. And as a team, the bond is there. We're all willing to work for each other. And I think you can see that by our performances on the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for us last year, we noticed, the start of the season, obviously, Ben was new in. And, there was a lot of new faces. It was about gelling. And some of them lads, it was their first season in senior men's football. So a little bit of adjustment for them. They've learned from that. And this season going forward, they seem to have really hit the ground running.
Yeah, definitely. I think for the first year, there was a lot of boys. Obviously, it's their first experience of men's football. And, men's football compared to the academy level is a massive step up. It's a lot more physical. It's a lot tougher. You've got to be quicker, stronger, sharper. And so I think just them as well, like the likes of like Luke Geimer, just having them in the team, they're bringing their experiences through already and, talking to us about it.
That's it. Now, I mean, you started the season really well. Like we said, you've got some great results. But now, we're back in lockdown. Supposedly, looking sort of like the 3rd of December, we can get back to training and things like that. So, I mean, how disappointing to you is it from that, that good start that you've made that things are stopped for now?
I think it's really disappointing, not just for us, for everyone. No one likes to see the country go into lockdown again and football to stop. But especially for us, I think we had a really good momentum going in the league. We've been doing really good. But it's obviously it's one of them things, you can't really change it. But we know now that this lockdown could be a blessing in disguise for us. If we know we're all young, but we're a lot fitter than everyone else. So if we continue to keep fit, then why can't we go back, continue the momentum?
Yeah. I mean, that first game back, it's looking at the fixtures, you've got Northwood on the 5th of December, which is only a couple of days after the lockdown finishes. I know there's a couple of leagues that have spoken to clubs or allegedly spoken to clubs about what date they would like to come back. Do you think coming back on the 5th would be too soon? Do you think you'd need a week or so and a couple of training sessions before you come back?
I think we could come back on the 5th. I think whenever. I think there's the team gels there. I think probably it would be better, for most teams to have a week, just have a couple of sessions to get back there. But I think with how fit we are, I think we can use that to our advantage a lot. And the way we play, we can definitely break down teams and get their energy low, and that's where we can punish them. Yeah.
And what are you doing yourself? What are you planning on doing this? This next 3.5 weeks or whatever to keep yourself fit?
I've just got to have a healthy diet, keep going out, training. Ben's training is very good. Not only does it keep you fit as well, technically there's decision making. It's very good training. And I think just continue doing that daily, that's going to keep me fit and ready, back sharp for the season.
Yeah. So that Ben and that they've given you little training programs to do at home, have they?
I mean, the training Ben does, I think the majority of the boys, we all know what the training is now, so we can just make our own sessions day to day, and we just do that.
Yeah. I want to come on to the FA Youth Cup. The lads had their game last week. Visit to MK Dons. I mean, that must have been a great experience for them. Unfortunately, the result didn't go their way, but that wasn't a true reflection, was it?
No, obviously it was a disappointing result, and to go out that way after how well they'd done to get there. But the boys are very good lads. They've worked really hard, and I mean they'll be happy to get as far as they did. But the way they played, I don't think the scoreline reflects it at all.
No,
they played some very good football, and then obviously they went down to 10 men as well because of the injury. So it's extremely hard when things like that happen.
That's it. I was saying in the first half about the game, and went down to 10 men, 3 late goals. But I mean, what I found, especially in that first half, that they was finding so much space behind the MK Dons back line, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of teams, not just us in the first team, but obviously the 18s as well, they know they want to press us high now because they know the football we can play, but we've also got that threat in behind to, put it over the top if it needs to.
Yeah, and it seems to be, to me from seeing that Ben's getting all the teams to play in the same sort of way. So if someone does progress to, to the under-23s or into the first team, they know the style of play that they want.
Yeah, I think the lads are all ready. They all know the way we want to play, and if anything happens, I think they'll be ready to step up easily.
Yeah, I mean, one final point from me. Obviously, you're a young lad. You've got your whole career ahead of you. What is the big long-term dream for you?
The long-term dream is obviously to be playing professional football in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I mean, to some people it may seem a big ask, but I just think, it's for anyone. If you work hard and you've got the dedication, the right attitude, everything from training daily, the dedication to turn up, the determination to just little things like your diet, what you're eating, your drinking, all of it plays a big factor. And, if you work hard, then why can't you?
No, absolutely. And you've got to dream big. But I mean, I think from, what you've done so far, you've shown that, anything's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Was there anything you wanted to ask Josh about at all?
Well, just wanted to say there, it's been done, Josh. I mean, players have come from step 4, the level you're playing at, and go into the Football League. So, dream big. I just wondered kind of a couple of things. I mean, you've come from youth football into senior football. What's the kind of biggest learning what's the biggest thing you've learned in that jump from youth football?
I'd say definitely the mistakes you make, you get punished a lot more, just little things. Teams, the men are they're a lot more physical, they're a lot more stronger than you, so making little mistakes, it's not like you can use your physical ability to get the advantage of them like you can in youth football. They're gonna punish you. So I think that's the hardest thing, but as well I enjoy it because it's coming up against different challenges and you have to use your brain more.
And what's it like having a manager? I mean, you're a left back. You got a manager who played in the Football League as a fullback, obviously. What's that like?
I mean, it's the best thing, isn't it? If you're, a professional footballer playing in the same position as you can, I just want to learn. He can teach me everything he's done. He's what a career he's had. He's played over 350 league games, so he's got loads of experience. So if I can just take lots of little things from him, then hopefully that's going to set me in good stead.
And sort of as a player, I mean, he's been in League Division 1 South Central. I mean, do you actually look at the other teams, or people say about young players, you've got no fear, so you don't really worry about the opposition. You just go out there and play your game. Or do you actually look at who you're playing week in, week out?
I mean, to be honest, most weeks we know the football we want to play, and we just go out there most weeks. We just turn up and find out the team we're playing, and we're ready for the game. But there has been a couple of occasions where, maybe like, I think Staines, for example, they were big on set, big threat from set pieces. So we had to manage a little bit by who's going to mark who. But majority of the times we're all set and ready, and, we just want to turn up and play our football and prove a point to people.
And I think you're definitely doing that. I mean, the game last week against Watford under-23s, I was chatting to Graham Stack, who was their coach, and you'll love this quote because he said to me, that can't possibly be their first team because they all look so young. And I said, well, you watch it because it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were older than, I think their team was older than most of us, but, it's just, I really enjoy it, having a young team. Why can't we do good with a young team?
I think you're absolutely right, and we enjoy watching you, and the feedback that we've got. I know there's only been a few games because of lockdown and whatever, but the feedback from the fans of the opposition has been so positive towards not only the fact that you're a bunch of young guys, but also the football that you're playing as well.
Yes, it's really good to receive, some of the compliments. Even some of the fans have said to us after the game where we're playing, but it can be frustrating at times because for all the good football we can play, we can, lose games from like just conceding silly goals like set pieces. So although it is good to hear that we're playing good football, we know we can get better, and cutting out the little silly mistakes, which I think we'll just gain from more experience, will definitely be good for us.
But it's interesting you're mentioning things like Dyer and maybe, obviously the physical side's important, but our mental side, as you just alluded to, is something that is really important to your game. I
mean, yeah, definitely. The fact, fans at this level can have a big, swing on games even, I think at Waltham Abbey at home, when they went down to 10 men, you could see us pushing on, the fans were helping us, and we had them on the ropes. We just unfortunately couldn't take our chances that day. But then, like us at Tooting and Mitcham away, first game of the season, we got our early goals, and then they pressed us the whole second half. And it's hard mentally because we had to dig in deep because it would kind of just come wave after wave. But if we know mentally our team's very strong, and if we all keep mentally strong, then we know we're going to do good this season. And you got a terrific relationship with the fans, and you are the team that after every game you go and thank your fans. I don't think I've seen that at any other club. No, obviously we're very thankful to all the fans because not only for their support, but the time and effort to come out the day and watch us. So we just want to put on a good show for them, good performance, and because we're thankful they're coming to watch us. Well, thank you for your time, Josh. Been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for all you do for us on social media. Really appreciate it. And we really look forward to getting back out there, seeing some real football, and seeing what you can do out there. No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on. Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Josh. Cheers.
Right, welcome back from that, and many thanks to Josh for joining us on that chat. Absolutely fantastic to have him on, and really interesting to hear all about his time at the academy and what's going on at Hertford. But Pete, it's that time. Let's go for a donut. Definitely.
This is East Herts Radio, 90 minutes donut of the week.
Right, last week's winners was the EFL and Papa John's for the renaming of the Checker Trade Trophy, Pete. So well done to them. And Pete, do you want to go first for this week?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the free pizzas out the window then, isn't it? But never mind. Right, the first one from me is to Carlos Aguayo Torres. Now, you may not have heard of him before this week. Nobody had heard of him, probably. But he's the goalkeeper for Vinaròs CF in the Spanish League, who curled the ball in from 20 yards to get his side level on terms against ACD Pensacola in the last minute of their Spanish League game. Everybody went absolutely ballistic. They were all celebrating. And the goalkeeper, Carlos, decided to just jog back into his position because he'd done his business. He'd scored the equalising goal with an excellent shot from inside the area. Unfortunately, though, ACD Pensacola took the kickoff rather too quickly for poor Carlos, who was still retreating back into his area when they curled the ball straight over the top of him into the back of the net from the restart. So Carlos went from hero to zero in the space of about 15 seconds.
Oh dear, that doesn't sound good for him, Pete. I'm going to go with one, and I know we're kind of doubling up on this one and teaming up on this because, yes, once again, the FA gets a nomination. Now, My reason for nominating them is for them not postponing the WSL game between Bristol City and Manchester City over the weekend. We know games have been called off due to people having COVID or self-isolating. Well, Bristol City had 5 first-team players isolating. One had COVID symptoms, and the other 4 players house share with that player, so they had to self-isolate as well because of the government conditions. Bristol City contacted the FA, and the FA told them that the game had to go ahead. And Pete, we're doubling up on this one, aren't we? So do you want to give your reason for nominating them?
Yeah, my reason is because League Two newcomers Barrow found out on Friday morning that their first round proper game in the FA Cup was postponed due to opponents AFC Wimbledon having a number of positive tests for COVID-19 amongst their first team squad. Now, it left many supporters confused, thinking that Barrow would now be given a place in the second round and that Wimbledon would be forced to leave the competition. That had been the case for the qualifying stages of the FA Cup, but of course, because it's the proper stages of the tournament, the Football Association decided to bend the rules. For the bigger clubs, AFC Wimbledon and Barrow will replay the game. Wimbledon haven't been chucked out of the competition, unlike the 16 non-league clubs who were forced to withdraw during the qualifying competition through COVID-19 reasons.
Yeah, ridiculous decision. It's one rule for the big boys and, one rule for the non-league teams, isn't it, Pete? That's absolutely ridiculous. It's so wrong.
Absolutely. Well, the next nomination is for Boreham Wood Football Club, because Boreham Wood Football Club this week decided to ban media representing Southend United, the club's FA Cup opponents, this Saturday just passed. And more precisely, they decided to ban Echo Sport reporter Chris Phillips, who was denied access to the first round tie at Meadow Park. In response to Southend Echo's recent article, Boreham Wood would like to clarify a position, they say, and reasoning behind limiting access to our up-and-coming fixture at Meadow Park. Following the recent advice sent to us by the National League Board and the FA, and in line with all present government guidelines due to COVID-19, etc., we've had to make tough decisions, and our decisions are based entirely on if somebody is deemed an essential worker or not. Bear in mind, this guy works for a local newspaper. He follows Southend all season, and he covers every game that they play in. So is he not essential? Well, Boreham Wood decided he wasn't essential and that he could quite easily do his work from the safety of his own home via the live streams provided by Boreham Wood. Now, I've got to add to this that I've got a bit of a vested interest here because Boreham Wood have form on this one, because a few years ago they used to charge members of the media to cover games. And when I was doing a little bit of work with Barnet Football Club on the hospital radio, they were the only team in 30 years of coverage that banned a hospital radio station from attending to cover their matches. So it looks like Boreham Wood haven't learned their lesson.
No, it certainly seems so. And I guess they wanted him to watch that stream and pay a $5 to watch that stream as well, Pete.
Well, it's possibly, I don't know, I do think they were providing that for free. But, I mean, how's the guy going to do his coverage? It isn't about just covering what goes on the pitch. It's about talking to the manager, talking to the players. And it's about, as I'm sure Chris does diligently every week at every other ground, we know that in the absence of a local paper that does anything for our teams in East Hertfordshire, we know how important local papers are for those teams where they do a good job. And, these guys are the lifeblood of getting it out there for local football teams. And Southend Echo, well, I've got no idea whether it'll run, whether they'll want to take action against Boreham Wood or they'll just hope they never play them again.
That's it. Well, I guess let's wait and see if anything else comes out about it. My final nomination, Pete, we're going swimming for this one. And Lithuanian swimmer Danas Rapsis, who was taking place in the International Swimming League. He was racing in the 400-metre freestyle and was well clear of the field and on course for a world record. Unfortunately for him, he miscounted the amount of lengths he had done and stopped at 350 metres. He realised his mistake and just held on to go and win the race by 1/10 of a second. But unfortunately, he didn't break the world record. I mean, fundamental part of swimming. I used to swim a lot. Fundamental part, count the lengths you do. Know how many lengths you got to do and count them. And surely, if you're doing 400 metres, you know what end you got to finish as well. He'd have counted at the wrong end and finished at the wrong end. I mean, come on. It's crazy.
Oh, dear. Yeah, but you've got to say, actually, I mean, he still managed to win the race. What were the rest of them doing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he was well clear. I saw the race. He was absolutely well clear, but he literally just about held on. And, it's ridiculous. I can't believe that someone, an international swimmer would miscount at that. And like I say, finish at the wrong end.
Yeah.
Or almost finish at the wrong end. But
well, is it a Spanish goalkeeper? Is it the FA? Is it Borehamwood FC? Or is it the Lithuanian swimmer who can't count? They are our 4 donuts nominations for this particular week. You'll find it on Twitter, so get voting. Right, that just about brings us to the end, Pete. And obviously, I know we've not quite done 90 minutes. We did say last week, we wouldn't be able to go 90 minutes with no games to report. But, we've had a good stretch, and let's see what next week brings. And there are no matches to report, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty still to talk about for us, Pete. Yeah, certainly. Keep it going on Twitter, everybody, with the social media. And our thanks to Josh. Always a pleasure to talk to one of our young footballers. We'll keep the guests going throughout lockdown and keep our fingers crossed, whether it is even, it's December the 5th, December the 12th, whenever it is, that we'll be back out there covering real football. That's it. Obviously we'll keep everyone posted as to what we know. And we're going to keep going, Pete, aren't we? So, like we said, there's going to be plenty of us to talk about, and we're going to keep going for, during lockdown, keeping people updated with what's going on. And like you say, keep going with the great guests that we get on. Yeah, the referee's just given me that glare that says if you boys don't keep going, there's a red card in it for you. So we better keep going all the way through lockdown 2. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cheers. Good night.